All right, the most important piece of improvisation advice I can give you is this. You have to separate the tool from the craft. By far, the number one way people shoot themselves in the foot is by trying to create with theory. They say, okay, I've got an A7 chord, here are the notes I can play. And then they try to just make stuff up. If you're a student of mine, you know I love analogies, so here's a good one. When we write or speak a sentence, we start with the idea. We don't start with a pool of words and try to come up with an idea by imagining the different ways we can arrange them. The concept comes first, and the tools help us realize the concept. Similarly, imagine you wanted to learn how to make a really good burger, so you got really good at using a spatula. A spatula is just a tool. It's a means to an end to accomplish the task at hand. It has nothing to do with the craft or the art form. It teaches you nothing about what makes a good burger. You get where I'm going with this. Musically speaking, things like theory and fretboard knowledge, such as caged, fall into the tool category. We work on these things so that when we have an idea, we have the resources to execute it. You don't improvise with caged, because caged in and of itself is not music. It's guitar geometry, a map, or an organizational tool. Now, with that said, you do need to know how to use the tool. So when you see a chord like A7, it's okay to say, I can play these notes. That's the tool. But after that, you have to know something about the craft. So you want to play blues. Okay, what does that mean? What's blues language? What's country language? You want to play bebop? What's bebop language? There are only 12 notes, right? Rock, blues, country, jazz musicians, whatever. Everyone plays over A7. People have this idea of like, okay, the blues and rock guys use pentatonic and the jazz guy uses bebop scales and modes. And the reason that one of those sounds like blues and one sounds like jazz is not the presence of a bebop scale. That's a tool. If you're a blues guy and you play a bebop scale, you're not all of a sudden going to sound like you play jazz. The scale itself doesn't make a thing. You need to study the craft to find out what does. Make sense? So you might say, well, how do I study the craft then? You learn solos and licks by ear, and you analyze them, and you come to learn how to use tools as a means to understand or categorize the language. You say, oh, all that lick is an arpeggio and then a scale run. It takes work, and I think a lot of people shy away from it because, relatively speaking, theory's easy. It's easy to say, all the notes in this scale work, so I can't go wrong by just making stuff up with those notes. But it won't work. You're not going to build a house by imagining all the ways you could use a hammer. Yeah? Okay, work on it.